you have something in your bass drums.
Oh, I do. Yes, yes, yeah.
I know we've been posting some clips on social media this week, and yeah, some of you know what's in the bass drum, but Simon, why don't you tell everyone, enlighten all of us?
Well, so throughout my career, I have stolen many things, not just hotel towels, which I think Interpol are still after me, actually, the phantom hotel towel snatcher. Every time I did a clinic, I'd have to, unless I had my own kit, that was fine. But if I was picking up a new kit, I'd have to grab a couple of towels, and sometimes I put them up here, and I'd eaten a really good meal.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I stole my technique. So as a drummer, of course, I've stolen from everybody. But as an engineer, I've also stolen. And it's the most wonderful way to learn your craft. Because in the end, you make it yours. But you have to look at other people's ideas and go, wow, never thought of doing that. So when I first worked with Ken Scott, and this goes back to my bass drum sound, 1975, I was listening to an album. It was Stanley Clarke's first solo album, which it was done in 74, actually. Tony Williams was the drummer.
Yeah.
I heard that record, and remember at that time I'd done quite a lot of studio work, so I knew what a bass drum and a microphone sounds like when you put those two together. I'm listening to this bass drum sound, I'm going, that mic's inside the bass drum. That's the only way you would make it sound like that, unless it was really close to the front head, or maybe close to the back head, right? It's a very live bass drum. And so for many years I tried this, and then finally I got to work with Ken Scott. There's a much longer story. I'll keep it short, because there's how Tony dealt with it, and how Stanley dealt with it, and how Ken dealt with it. Because anyway. So then I first get to work with Ken on There and Back, and I say, right, Ken, I know you're doing something with your bass drum. What is it? And he says, I'll show you. So we take the front head off. He gets 2 towels, roll them up, stick them to the batter head. So there's nothing else in the bass drum.
Yeah.
Whereas in those days, you used to have the front head off and put a piano cover in there. I used to have foam in mine, actually, thick, like 3-inch or 4-inch foam. And then he put a microphone, an Electro Voice RE20, and he got some mic cable, split it open, and took the smaller cable out of it, twisted it around the mic, and attached it to the screws, the bolts that hold the tension rods on. So it's like this, and there's the mic inside. He got the maintenance engineer of Abbey Road, EMI, to put a mic cable through the air hole, just like this, and solder on a female XLR, plugged it into the mic, said, right, put the front head on. And that's the sound that you hear on There and Back, and that's the sound I've used ever since. I've modified it, obviously, but that's what it was. Then, later on, I was working with Eddie Kramer, famous for all his Jimi Hendrix recordings. And we were having a little phone call because we were doing a recording for the launch of the Shure KSM 44 when they first came out with their high-quality condenser mic, double diaphragm. And he said, so what does your kit consist of? I said, well, I've got 2 bass drums, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, all right, well, the only thing I want to do is I want to put a paint can inside each of your bass drums. And of course, I said, what color? And he said, if I had $100 for every time I was asked that question, I wouldn't be calling you now. I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, Eddie, I've had just about everything in my bass drum except for maybe water and goldfish. So, which I think Keith Moon tried once.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So we got to the session, and I took the front heads off, and he put a little towel in there. He put a 1-gallon paint can. He actually put a little microphone on it. It's a little Beta 91, which I don't use. And then put the front head on and put the mics on. And I played it, and I went... They had a solidness, a thuddiness, which was always missing because of putting that front head on. Because it does cause problems. It's a much more dynamic sound, but without the front head, you can... People that play where it's called burying the beater, and they go boom, like that. It's easier when there's no front head. But if you have a front head that's live, like mine, it'll just my beaters would just bounce. So when I hit the bass drum, I come straight off it, just like the hands.
Yeah.
Same with the feet, you know. But I knew instantly. I said, "Oh, that's nice and thuddy, great." And he said, "Come and have a listen." And we were recording to analog, 2-inch tape, and it was a Neve console. And I had a listen. I went, "Ooh, that's nice, Eddie. What have you done?" He said, "Nothing." "Really? That's flat?" "Flat." And I went, "Now that's how a sound should be. It should sound great before you do anything else to it."
Yeah.
You know, some people say, "Well, what kind of plugins are you using?" Plugins? In recording? Well, first of all, we can't do that because of the latency, but no, that's the sound of a bass drum going through a microphone, going through a mic pre, hitting, well, used to be hitting tape, now it's hitting a converter, you know? So that's the story of the paint cans anyway.